Welcome to Thursday Thoughts, your weekly dose of real, honest conversation on all things personal growth. These are the chats Lucy and I love having every week over on Instagram. They're unfiltered, unedited, and always rooted in practical tools and a dose of inspiration. Let's dive in. All right, so today, what I was saying was, so in my membership, each month we do a different theme, and the theme which we're doing for the next 2 weeks before Christmas is releasing. And so the reason why I came up with this theme at this time is because obviously we're approaching the end of a year, and at this time of year, a lot of us can feel like we're literally crawling to the finish line. We're feeling a little bit burnt out, a bit tired. There's been a lot going on throughout the year. And it's just I think, a good opportunity to just bring some awareness to some of the stuff that perhaps has accumulated and built up throughout the year, which actually you don't need to take into the next year. You're ready just to leave it here so that you can move into the next year feeling lighter, more spacious, and ready to go. So the things I'm sort of talking about here are, you perhaps get to this point of the year and you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, I really haven't quite got to where I was hoping to get to at this point of the year. And that can be stored in beliefs, thoughts, tension in the body, as you know, and the tension in the body can be a very physical thing, but it can also be in thoughts like, oh God, I'm not really good enough to do this. Can I really do this? The doubt might start to crop in, giving yourself a hard time. It's like those stories and that overthinking. And actually, this is a great time to have almost like a bit of a spring clean. It's like, right, let's leave that here. We don't need to bring that with us. But the only way that you can really do that is by bringing some awareness to what is going on internally. So it's almost like bringing awareness to the different parts of your body, to what is going on in your mind, and then using things like the breath, which is a fantastic way, helps physically and mentally to just let go, release that stuff, leave it here so that we can move forwards and move into the next version of ourselves that we're ready to move into without that stuff. It's very difficult to move forwards if you're still holding on to this tension, to these beliefs, to this old version of you. You can do all the vision boards, you can do all the goal setting, all of that, but if you're still holding on to this old version of you, of things which you're storing and haven't yet released, it's kind of hard to because you haven't got any space to move forwards. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I want to ask you a question actually about, like, obviously you're the breathwork expert and the breathwork instructor. And although I do practice breathwork most days myself, actually, one thing that I want to ask you about when it comes to releasing is, like, I've heard you talk about this. I've heard Sam Skelly talk about this, various breathwork people talk about how by doing breathwork, you can release whatever it is. But my question is, if you have something you actually want to release, how do you do that through a breathwork session? How can you do that? Like, if I was like, right, I want to release whatever it was through doing a breathwork session just by myself, how do you actually do that?
Okay. Well, there's different levels to this. So I'm very much more about the gentle, soft breath work. Someone like Sam Skelly would probably go in much more hardcore into full-on breaths. So you can go and do a full-on conscious connected breathwork session, which is when you are using your breath to put put yourself into a very highly stimulated state where you're going into the sympathetic part of your nervous system. And what you're doing there is you're taking your conscious brain and putting it to the side. And so that you're going into deeper levels of your nervous system.
that can be quite full on for a lot of people because it can bring up a lot of stuff. But that actually allows you that. I mean, there's very limited research of actually what is happening there. There's beginning to be more and more research done of actually all the in-depth science, and it's often to do with a change of pH level in your blood. But actually, what that can do, it can almost reset some of the stuff going on within your mind and your brain and your body. And that is a way of you can actually let go, or some of the stuff rises to the surface and then you can let go. What I'm going to be doing in the inner space is a bit softer than that, which you can do, which I'm doing is sort of in like, almost like in a meditation session, is the very first, as we always know, Lucy, the very first step to any sort of change or is bringing awareness. So this morning we literally went through different parts of the body and brought our awareness and our breath by just slowing down the breath, soft, gentle breath, which automatically relaxes you, slows down your brain waves, and just noticing. So we actually went through the energy centers this morning, starting from the root up to the crown, and just noticing what is present in that part of your body. And unless you quieten down the mind, it's very difficult to know what is present. So it's just tuning in. Nothing may come up, but then
Do you mean what's present in terms of physically or mentally?
Physically. Well, physically, it's always good to go physically first to notice in that part of the body. But when you're noticing physically, sometimes something in your mind might pop up. So using the breath to slow everything down, but focusing on that body part and having someone guide you is obviously a good thing because it's like each energy center holds different things. So your sacral is your part of your creativity. Your heart is where you hold emotions. So it's almost like, what are you holding back from? What are you holding back from doing? Where are you staying small before, in order to express your full self or whatever it is? And so, yes, you firstly notice any tension. So you might notice that you've got real gripey tightness in your belly. So firstly, just softening into that. But that might then trigger something in your mind. But actually, if it doesn't, that's fine. Let's just go through the body first because it's all part of the process, releasing tension, which you might be holding in your shoulders or whatever. And then after, things might crop up. And then afterwards, you might want to journal what came up. It's a process and you can't suddenly expect, it's all going to become clear in one session. It's just a process.
That's why I asked, because the way that I hear, say, for example, Sam Skelly talking about it, it's like, well, you can do one breathwork session and then boom, that thing that's been, affecting you for years and years and years, you can just get rid of it through breathwork. Well, this is what I sometimes find confusing about it, or that I just misunderstand it. But I mean, for example, like my breathwork this morning, I did 10 minutes. So there's a particular track that I like to listen to, and I use it in my morning routine club quite a lot, but I like to listen to it's 10 minutes, or it's 9.5 minutes, which is perfect because I basically do what I was doing this morning. I was doing 4 breaths in and 12 breaths out for 10 minutes. And then I move into a meditation, right? And then I'm like quite dropped in before I even move into the meditation. But when I'm doing breath work, I'm not necessarily focusing on what do I want to clear or what do I want to release. I'm literally just focusing on the breath and trying to basically calm my nervous system down and just get into the parasympathetic nervous system. But if I actually wanted to release something, as we're talking about here, this is where I get confused and I don't quite know how it works.
So what you're doing this morning is great because it's calming you down and it's letting you drop in. Breath work always needs to have, if you want to go into a point where you want to release something or you want to achieve something through it, you start with an intention. Right. So I always have an intention for whatever breath work, even if it is just simply to calm, right? I'm going to use this breath to calm my nervous system. So this morning, my intention was we're going to just notice what's present. It's literally, I'm just going to notice what's present and bring it to mind. And so that I can see it, I'm going to notice it. And so I can just see what's there. It wasn't to release. So I'm going to, throughout the sessions for the next 2 weeks, we'll build up to that. And towards the end, we're going to start using the breath. So you can actually use we can actually really use the exhale, breathing in, and then really slow, long exhales. You can really focus on a specific point in your body which you might feel really tense at. Maybe it is your shoulders, and we're going to really slowly long release using our breath. You can use light, soft releases. You can use really much more full-on heavy releases. But again, it's always to do with the intention. What are you trying to do? Is really, really important.
I will only ever recommend brands that I know, love, and use myself. And one of those is Ancient and Brave. Honestly, they've become part of my daily habits. The very first thing I do every morning is pour myself a big glass of water with their true hydration in it. It feels like such a simple ritual, but it really sets me up for the day. And I know I'm properly rehydrating with their blend of electrolytes and minerals, especially before I exercise, which I always do in the morning. Then later on, when I make my coffee, I stir in their true collagen powder into the coffee. Now, it blends in straight away, no fuss, there's no taste, and collagen is something we naturally lose as we age, but it's so important for our skin, joints, and overall vitality. Now, I'll be honest, Ancient and Brave may cost a little more than some of the tubs you'll spot on supermarket shelves, but the difference is you're getting the highest quality ingredients, sourced with integrity and tested to a higher standard, and absolutely no nasties added. That's why I trust them and why I think they're worth every penny. And because I want you to be able to try them out for yourself, I've got a special offer for you. As a listener of this podcast, you can get 20% off your very first order. All you need to do is click the link in the show notes and pop in the code POLYW20 at checkout. They've got more than just collagen and hydration too. They've got creatine, they've got blends, supplements. So it's a perfect chance to explore their range and make the most of that 20% off.
Yeah, I mean, I think, because funnily enough, in Cock-a-Doodle-Doo, we start by setting the intention of how we want to move through the day and who we want to be during that day. And then we always start with about 5 or 6 minutes worth of, I prefer to call it intentional breathing because I'm not a breathwork instructor, but I don't think you need to be to guide people through intentional breathing. And I'll do very basic things like either the box breath or just literally in through the nose, out through the mouth, or, a longer exhale, and then top holes and stuff like that. And I mean, I think it definitely, like you say, it's a really good idea to set an intention. And what I sometimes do is when we have done the breath work and we move into the meditation, I might then ask people to ask themselves, what, for example, what do you need to let go of? And it's quite good, isn't it? When you're dropped in like that, when you've calmed down your nervous system, if somebody then asks you the question, what do you need to let go of? It's really interesting to find out what comes up in your mind, what comes to mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Until you give yourself that space and time to just notice and nothing's going to come up unless you kind of allow that space for it to come. So I mean that's a good point to do it. But also the body matters because we hold on to stuff in our body which we don't consciously we're not consciously aware of. So it is good to sort of really give yourself again an opportunity just to notice and let go, use the body to let go of what you're holding on to.
Totally. Well, I can tell you one thing for me in terms of releasing. So by the end of 2025, as we move into 2026, particularly because I turn 50 on January the 1st, which I can tell you is a double mind fuck, New Year and a very, very significant birthday. And I'm going to be releasing any remains of fuck giving about what other people think. That is it's going to be Lucy Unleashed, because it's something I've been working on for years, and I've talked about it quite a lot on my podcast, how the thing that holds us back more than almost anything else is the fear of judgment, is the fear of people laughing, is the fear of what other people are thinking. And it used to hold me back for decades. And it's something I've really, really worked on over the last, 4 or 5 years. But as I walk into 2026 and I turn frickin' 50, I'm just going to be like giving way less fucks. And I'm quite excited about that because I kind of feel, I can already feel that sort of shift happening in my brain of like, if I can't let it go by the age of 50, then when am I going to? So I'm kind of making a decision like, right, this is the year where you're just like, no, 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 no more, no more worrying. And it's funny because I sort of on social media have started just doing like a video every single day without fail, just talking shit for a minute or so. And actually and whilst I always cringe at myself when I put videos out on Instagram, always I cringe. It's like totally cringe but cringe. Like who doesn't cringe at themselves? But what is amazing is when you start doing something like that, which you have to put aside the worry about what other people think, because people are going to be rolling their eyes and people are going to be going, what's she doing, or whatever, some people. But actually when you start intentionally doing that, it just becomes so much easier, and you actually just by default you really stop giving a fuck. You're just like, I don't care. And now these days, even if I've done a video that I don't even think is particularly good or it's not one of my favorites, I'll go in, I'll post it, I'll go into TikTok, I'll post it, and then I'll get the hell out and then I'll forget about it. I'm like, I don't care. It's done, it's out there. And so I think this, this worrying and this caring about what other people think is something that we should all be thinking about trying to just release as we come to the end of the year and move into 2026, because really, really, truly, it is the thing, in my opinion anyway, it is the thing that keeps us small. You mentioned staying small, people, and us women do it particularly. But I tell you something, the main reason that we stay small is because we are worried about the judgment of others. It's so huge. I feel, if you can't tell, I feel really quite strongly about it. I really do, because I just know that it's like it's everything, and we don't realize. But if you actually think about like, why am I not doing the thing that I want to do, or whatever it may be, I think every single one of us would realize that a lot of it comes down to, I'm worried about what this person's going to think. I'm worried that I'm going to look like a knob. I'm worried about what my parents are going to think, or I'm worried about what my colleagues are going to think if I, ask for a promotion or whatever. So anyway, that is my big release
Well, it's so true. And Lucy, I'd say, I mean, honestly, since I've known you, seeing where you've come from to where you are now in terms of, just what you're putting out on Instagram, for example, is like just so vastly different. And your videos are doing so well. They're really gaining traction, and you're flying. It's really bloody working. I definitely could do more of that, I think, because yeah, I mean, I just find with Instagram, it's such a cyclical thing. I find I'm either all in for a period of time, and then and it doesn't, I feel like I have to just retreat just for my own, I don't know, it's a weird thing. So it's kind of going, yeah, you're right. It is about releasing what people think. I mean, that's a massive one because we all worry far too much.
Yeah.
Um, but then it's also about tuning in and listening to you and how you float. But it's about kind of really working out, where you want to go and what you want to do. And for you, I mean, it is absolutely working brilliant, and you're just bossing it. And yeah, I mean, it is so interesting, isn't it? It's because putting yourself out there is probably something which a lot of people fear.
Yeah.
And if you are somebody who wants to grow something, or you're doing something, and actually that social media, for example, is going to be a helpful tool in some way, then it's about how do you overcome all that stuff which you're holding on to in order to get there. And yeah, I mean, we both know that you have to release a lot of that.
You do.
And it's hard. It's hard, but you're right. It's momentum.
It is, and also the more you do it, the less you give a fuck. I mean, I am trying to grow my podcast, right, or continue to grow my podcast, which is going to turn 4 in February. And I want this podcast to become super successful, and I believe in my heart that it will. I have absolute faith in it, and it's just a question of audience, getting people's ears onto the podcast. And it's so funny because it still amazes me when I get an email from someone saying, oh my God, I just discovered your podcast, and I'm just like, binge listening. And it always amazes me. It's like, God, there are still so many people who have no idea, so many single women out there who have no idea that it exists. But coming back to the Instagram thing, I totally see your point. But for me, and what for me, or for what I think is right for me, I've realized that if I waited to feel inspired on Instagram, I would never fucking post anything, because Instagram and me are not friends. Well, maybe we're becoming friends again now because I've just decided to approach it completely differently. But I think the biggest thing on Instagram is consistency. So I've made a decision to literally post a video every single day without fail for at least a year, to see if it makes any difference. And what I've actually started doing, like last week or the week before, I batched 12 or 13 videos in one afternoon. And so I've realized that the way that I make it work, the way to make social media work for me, is that I batch content, which is something I've been trying to do for literally years. It's been the bane of my life. But I realized that the only way that I can change my relationship with Instagram and see different results is if I make it easier for myself. And I've been making Instagram really hard for myself, because I've been like, oh, I don't feel like it, and it just feels like it's constantly on my mind. And I've realized that by just making a decision to go, this is what I'm going to do, the end, this is what I'm going to do, no questions, and then just fucking doing it. And I thank you, by the way. I appreciate what you say about the difference, and I can also feel the difference compared to when you and I started doing these lives. But I really do think when it comes to releasing the fear and the worry about what people are going to think, and not everyone, it's not going to look like showing up on Instagram for everyone. It depends what you do, it depends it depends who you are, it depends what you want. But for me personally, this has definitely been a really big thing, and I've realized that I could say, oh, I'm coming off social media, it's just not very me. But I also realized that by saying that, I am hugely limiting myself. And I am hugely limiting an audience, because there are billions with a B people on social media. So I kind of feel like if you're trying to grow a business online, fine, you don't have to go on social media, but you're missing out on a lot of potential people if you don't. But I think when it comes to releasing that fear of what others think, it really, in my experience, the absolute best way of doing it is just to do things again and again and again and again and again. Because when you get more and more comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, you start feeling less uncomfortable. It starts feeling less of a big deal, and I think this can go for any area in life. It doesn't have to be showing up on social media. I think for anyone who whatever work you do, whoever you are, whatever you want to do, there is a part of you that is being held back by the fear of your fear of what other people are thinking. And I think it's actually really worth just taking a moment to have a think about that and work out, hang on, where am I stopping myself in life because of my fear of what other people think? Where am I holding myself back? Because I guarantee you there'll be something, because it's few and far between the person who genuinely does not care. It really is. But I find this whole thing completely and utterly fascinating. But I think it's a really good thing to, as you move into a new year, it's like, if you're going to let go of anything, I think that's a really good thing to start letting go of for any of us,
Yeah, absolutely. But it might also be something like, letting go of perfection, which kind of comes down to that, I suppose, as well, because
Very similar, yeah.
why are you trying to do
Yeah,
something so well?
yeah,
That's often something which holds us back. We're trying to do everything perfectly, but that also might lead to something like, if you're trying to be perfect and you're totally overworking, overthinking,
yeah,
you're doing more than you really need to. And so it's like, actually, can I let go of some of that and
yeah,
actually give myself a little bit more space? Because I find that when I am working less and giving myself more of what I need and easing into the work, actually that is when I do a much better job, and
yeah,
when life just feels so much more pleasurable,
yeah,
rather than pushing, which I have a real tendency to do.
yeah,
So it's, so it really is about just noticing your patterns, those unhelpful
yeah,
patterns. And when you notice those unhelpful patterns, ask yourself the stories that you are telling yourself. Why is it that you might be overworking, or trying to control everything every moment of the day? Is it because, you don't think you're good enough, and so you've got to work harder than everybody else? Or so it's really a matter of bringing to mind those limiting beliefs which are
mm,
holding you back. And it is, and honestly, I've always kind of thought, oh, but how do you release them? How do you let go of them? I mean, we're talking about, obviously you can use the breath, but actually the first step is always just noticing, bringing the awareness to it. And once you have that awareness, once you've seen it, that is pretty much the big part of it. It's not actually rocket science. It's
yeah,
like literally reminding yourself that, oh, I have this tendency to constantly overthink, to overwork, or I have this tendency to play small and dumb myself down and not be center stage. So what can you do about that? It's
yeah,
literally about then finding a little action that can challenge that
yeah,
can make you feel uncomfortable to do and repeat that action. And that is how you get out of it. And it is,
100%.
obviously you can go and have hypnotherapy, you can go and do all these things to help release
Yeah.
these limiting beliefs. You can go and do these breathwork sessions. They're all helpful, but I've realized it's not rocket science. You can actually literally bring it to mind. The moment you bring it to mind and are aware of it, that is the first step. That's the
I
big
couldn't agree
step.
more. I could not agree more. And also, it's like it's bringing awareness to it. And then, you know what? It's making a fucking decision. It's
Mm.
making a decision. And like you say, it's taking action. Because it's by taking action with anything. It's like you and I have talked about confidence on here before. How do you become more confident? You don't wait to feel confident. The way you become confident is by doing things that give you more confidence in yourself. It so often comes down to actually taking action, and that can be a very, very, very small thing. And also going back to what you were saying about perfectionism, I think perfectionism is just another form of procrastination. Like if you think about it, because I used to have a tendency to be a perfectionist as well, and then I realized this is such BS. This is just because I'm just procrastinating. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like putting this off.
Yeah.
Like I'm, and actually you and I both know having a podcast is a really good example of something where if you want to be a perfectionist, good luck maintaining a podcast.
Yeah, yeah,
And when
yeah.
I first started the podcast, I was talking to somebody about this just literally the other day. I used to re-record stuff. Like I would re-record like mini-sodes and be like, oh, but it's not good enough. Oh, I just need to do it again. And I remember actually so vividly a moment where I went, Lucy, you've got to just put it out and know that it's good enough. And another thing that you and I have talked about on here, and it's one of my favorite expressions. I've heard lots of people say it. I can't remember who I first heard say it, but it's done is better than perfect. I say that to myself all the time. Done is better than perfect. I'm working on something at the moment, like a project, and I'm sort of, it's causing me so much stress. It's taking up so much of my time. I'm just like, oh my God, I could scream. But I've really been like religious about thinking done is better than perfect, because I know that I could go on and on and on and on and on trying to reach quote perfection, of which there is no such thing. Or I can go, do you know what? Done is better than perfect, and I can always go back and change the things that I'm not happy with. So I really think, perfectionism it is often procrastination in disguise. I
Hmm.
think it's another thing to think about, because I think a lot of us have a tendency to do that. It's that classic thing of like, well, my website isn't good enough yet, so therefore I can't I can't move forward with my new business because my website isn't good enough. Well, bollocks. My website is shit and no one cares about my website. There are so many more important things that we can be doing than building a website, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a really good example of something that someone will spend hours and days and weeks and months. No, no, no. Well, my website's not ready. My website's not ready. My website's not perfect. It's like that is just procrastinating on actually doing the goddamn work. The website doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So
Yeah, I mean, we're all masters of that.
yeah,
But getting better at letting it, just moving forwards and doing it, just working out what are the things which actually really you need to happen or you want to happen, and focusing on them. But yeah, I think just an invitation just to start noticing now what are the what even what are the things that have maybe not happened this year that you're holding on to, and just kind of repeating again in your mind of like, oh, I haven't done that. Just notice it, let it go. Or what are some of the things that some of the behaviors which are really beginning to annoy you?
mm,
Or if you find yourself saying, oh, I wished I'd done that, or I could be doing that, or just bloody bring them to mind and make a decision. Right, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? Am I going to keep carrying this, or can I just put that here and move forward?
yeah, absolutely. Well, on that note, it's 9:31, so we'll wrap up. But just quickly, can I call you? I know you and I are going to speak after this, but can I call you at about 11? I've just got a couple of things that I have to.
Um,
Or is there a
yeah,
better?
I'll message you.
Message me? Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. All right then.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. All
Speak to you
right.
later.
All right.
Lots of love.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.